Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
2014. I'm driving drunk and get a DWI. 2-year probation with lots of hoops and hurdles, such as random piss tests, court-mandated group therapy, and Alcoholics Anonymous and these night classes that go over drug and alcohol addiction. Breathalyzer installed in my car, which I have to get calibrated once a month, cost about $80 each time. Pay for an occupation license so I can drive, but it's only valid between 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. This makes my night classes and evening shifts at work a real bitch. Anyway, the point is I keep seeing this one dude. I first see him in court, and he stands out because he looks really familiar, like maybe an old friend from elementary school. See him at the breathalyzer place a few times, at my night classes, at a few Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, and once or twice leaving drug therapy. He always makes direct eye contact but doesn't say a word. Figure he recognizes me too, but I can't place him, and I don't want to introduce myself and say, "How do I know you?" in case he gets offended or turns out to be just a stranger. He's got brown shaggy hair, a patchy goatee, and really sharp gray eyes. It should have struck me that he might be following me, but at the time I was overwhelmed with all of my payments and shit. One night, at Alcoholics Anonymous, he approaches me and says,
"You know who I am."
He didn't ask, it was like he was telling me. I tell him something like, "I remember you, but I'm bad with names." He says,
"It's fine. I just wanted to give you my blessing."
"What the fuck?" He tells me that the bus is almost here and leaves abruptly. Weird. I get my Alcoholics Anonymous sheet signed, to prove I was there, and leave. Hop on the bus, headed for the park. Gonna sleep there for the night. But as soon as I get on, I see this girl sitting by herself. She motions me over to sit beside her, which I do. I'm kind of on autopilot, so I'm not exactly paying attention. Not exactly sure why I sat beside the girl when she motioned me over. I'm usually kind of too insecure for that. This girl's as gorgeous. Auburn hair, green eyes. She's wearing scrubs and tells me she's a nurse. I never really have luck with girls, but this one is obviously intent on getting to know me, even though I look like total shit. Keep in mind at this point I haven't cut my hair in over a month, and my girlfriend broke up with me and kicked me out of our apartment because I was a loser with a DWI. I'd been living out of my car until it broke down on me. Now I'm literally homeless, still working though, thank God. The point is I probably reek, but this girl is clearly flirting with me. In the end, we come to her stop and she asks if I want to go to her fucking place. I tell her no thanks. She scribbles her number down and hands it to me.
"Call me."
I slept in the park that night. A month passes, and I'm really struggling. Been staying in motels here and there just to get a shower. Haven't had much food. For some reason I remember the girl on the bus and I call her. We set up a date for tomorrow night. I have no money. I borrowed some cash from a coworker he owed me, and meet the girl up at an Italian restaurant. We order water. She looks at the menu and tells me,
"This place is expensive.
I can't disagree.
Let's go to Cane's."
Never been there, so we go and I spend way less money than I had planned. She invited me to her place again, and this time I go. I take a shower, and she does my laundry. It was in my backpack. I have lived with her for a few months. Was never as happy with my ex as I was with her. We're both really happy. In the end, she left the state to pursue a dream that was calling to her. She was very religious, too much to go into right now. I tell her to pursue her dream, and that I'll get by somehow. Can't follow her because of my DWI. Coincidentally, a friend of mine gets an apartment and wants me to move in with him. I do that. One night, I check Instagram and see my girl is getting married to some goofy-looking dude with curly hair. She seems happy though. I get a phone call the night before my last court date.
It's getting dismissed. No need to come to the court tomorrow. You're all done.
By this point I have a car. Drive out to the park where I used to sleep, I don't know, to get perspective I guess. I see the dude who used to follow me around. Sitting on a bench, waiting on the bus. He waves as I drive by and hops on the bus. I still have no idea who he was.
One time found all of these weird masks in the woods. It's hard to understand why it was so scary unless you were there though. House in the country, not mine, a friend's, everyone's a little hungover from a party the night before. I didn't drink much, so I'm up for exploring. Go out alone into the woods surrounding the property. Find a clearing. On all the surrounding trees, there are these really cool hand-carved wooden masks. They're hung up about chest high on the trees, facing the clearing. Super fucking eerie, but I love handmade shit like this, so I was more fascinated than scared. Decide, fuck it, I'll take one home. This thing comes right off the fucking tree. I thought maybe they'd been hung up by a string or even nailed down, but the one I grabbed lifted right off. No obvious grooves in the trees that could have held the mask in place either. Then I swear to God, this fucking tree began to creak. No wind or anything, just sounded like it was moving. Got freaked the fuck out at this point and dropped the mask on the ground. Creaking stops abruptly. Fuck this. I hurry the fuck out of there and never return. Probably doesn't sound spooky reading it. But I seriously got the creeps. I definitely would have returned under normal circumstances, but the feeling I got was too much.
Weird. I had a similar experience, but in a totally different kind of place. I always shrugged it off, but I know the feeling you're talking about. Traveling to Oregon. Stop for the night in Iowa. The motel is in the middle of the country. Nothing much around except cornfields, based fields, an empty prison, and the occasional house. Sunset. I'm sitting outside my motel having a beer. Facing the cornfields/based fields I mentioned. A small road travels between them and I get the urge to go for a walk. After a while I notice a wooden doll propped up just inside the corn, leaning on a cornstalk. Notice more as I keep walking. They're all facing the road I'm taking. Faces are incredibly detailed. I wonder if this is some country bumpkin, good luck, charm or something to make the corn grow large. Stoop down to pick up one of the dolls. Solid wood except for the clothes. Like I said, the faces were incredibly detailed, quality craftsmanship. Uncanny valley shit, for sure. As I'm inspecting this doll, I hear something move inside the corn. I replaced the doll, thinking it's the owner. Sound stops. After a moment I head back the way I came. But the movement in the corn follows me until I get back to the motel. The entire time I feel incredibly tense. My eyes are glued to the cornfield. I almost tripped a couple of times. The little faces on the dolls feel like they're watching me. Just like your experience, I felt a fear I seriously couldn't shake. The entire thing was not something that would produce panic in me normally. Fucking creepy little dolls.
This is my old man's story, typed out by him in his own words. Not strictly supernatural, but still a story that gives us both chills. Posting in 2 parts, no green text. It was in Newfoundland that the most eerie event of my life took place. It was Christmas 1981, and I was 8. In recent days, a 14-year-old girl named Dana Bradley had gone missing. As was usual for Christmas, we went out to look for a tree. In Newfoundland, you'd be a fool to buy one. The best spot for Christmas trees was a place called Cape Spear, which incidentally is the most eastern point of Canada. Cape Spear is very large and sparsely populated. But we weren't surprised to see another car pull off a few hundred meters ahead of us as we prepared to head into the woods. From out of the car came another family, complete with kids and a dog. Well, despite the fact that we were in a forest, we had a hell of a time finding a tree. We trudged all over the place, to no avail. Eventually, my mother got tired, and decided to take a rest. We spotted a large rock where we could sit down while my father searched for the perfect tree. The rock was in a clearing, which was circled by trees. 3:53 p.m. After a few minutes on the rock, I got bored, and started looking and wandering around. Nothing but forest. But then I thought I caught a glimpse of someone looking at me from the trees. It was only a brief image, so I wasn't sure if I had seen it or not. I peered into the woods, but it was starting to get dark, and I couldn't see anything. At 8 years old, I had no suspicions, and so I walked towards the woodline, still unsure if someone was there or not. The woods were about 50 meters from the rock we were sitting on, and I was nearly halfway there when all of a sudden I heard a loud yell from behind. My father had just returned with our tree, and we were ready to go. I thought no more of what I saw until later that night. We were all sitting around listening to the radio and decorating the tree, when a news broadcast came on which still gives me shivers. They reported that the body of Dana Bradley had just been found, at Cape Spear. Right where we had been looking for our tree. Apparently, the other family's dog had sniffed it out. I was nearly paralyzed with shock and fear. What had I seen? Was it the murderer? Was it the victim? Was it even real? To this day, I don't know what I saw, if anything. All that Christmas, I felt a chill from our tree, as if it could never warm up from being outside. I wondered what it may have silently witnessed in those dark woods.
Be me. Crawfishing. Local nature reserve. My bro and I dropped a crawfish pot and come back with a friend at 11:30 p.m. after we were off work. All knifed up because we get /tactical, /headlamps and shit, smoking cigs and talking about squatches. Tempting fate. Make squatch calls and bang trees to summon one from the woods. Get out to the river, no one else there, tactically sneak to our pot. As soon as we turn away from the opposite bank, splunch big stone hits water. Friend says it's just trout, but he admits it sounded like a rock. We know the difference. Trap empty, so we move it to a better spot, walking along the bank. The water behind us, every time we look away, splunch big rock. Happens 3 times as we walk about 500 feet up. Hear rocks shifting behind a line of bushes, obviously something is flanking us, and it slipped up a few times. We are knifed up and hear some other people ahead and got cocky. Me and friend get tactical with our lights, spotlighting back and forth for eye glints. Bro walks in the river to drop a trap. Over the next dike on the opposite of the river we see a bonfire and smell a cookout. See their flashlights through the bushes. As soon as he dropped the trap, a big animal just jumped in the water at this bend in the river. He runs out the water. People behind the dike run up and join us, shining lights towards whatever animal it was. Nothing. We scan the bank, but see nothing. Back upstream, we hear it again. Rock into the water. And again. Start to leave, light up new cigs for courage. Lose trailhead. About 12:15 now. Find a collapsed tent with the outline of a body, no smell. We shut up, draw our knives, and get back to the shore. Find trailhead and begin exfil. Metal Gear escapes from Tarkov shit. As we walk parallel to the river we hear splosh rocks dropping at even intervals along the river. Some noise in the bushes between us and the river. We all ignored it, but we were walking hella fast. It was low-key fucked.
Be me. B15. At summer camp. Got friend at camp named Ted. Cool guy. Dumb as shit though. Ted brought weed with him to camp. Decide we're gonna sneak out after dark to smoke some. Darkness comes. all camp leaders have gone to bed. Climb out through the window with Ted. Real ninja shit. The camp consists of 2 sleeping cabins, an eating hall and some storage shacks. There's a football field and then further down there's a lake with a beach and then a pretty large hill overlooking the whole camp plus lake. The whole area is surrounded by woods and there's a gravel path through the woods you have to go down to get to the top of the hill. So we've just gotten out of the cabin undetected. Ted got the joint rolled and ready. Decide we're gonna smoke it on top of the hill overlooking the camp, because we're both kinda new to weed and worried the smell is gonna get us caught if we do it too close to the camp. So we get on our bikes and start cycling down the forest path. There's a full moon and in the middle of summer, so there's not much darkness and we can see the path without flashlights. Get to the end of the path. Have to leave our bikes and walk the final path to the top of the hill. Can see the entire camp from here. Light in the leader's cabin is on, but it's still off in the cabin we came from, so assume no one noticed we were gone. Ted's just about to light it up when we hear it. The sound of someone slowly sliding down from a rock. We both freeze. After a few seconds he whispers if that was me. We both sit and listen for a few minutes. Just as I'm about to break the silence, I hear another noise. The sound of someone jumping down from a ledge, and then several footsteps in succession as if they were trying to break after jumping down something. Quiet again. Noise came from the rocks below us. Ted begins to pack away the joint again as we assume one of the leaders must have seen us bike away and decided to fuck with us. By climbing up a steep hill in the middle of the fucking night. Yeah, right. Begin shouting at them that we know they're there and how it isn't funny. No response. Suddenly I see the light in the leader cabin turn off. Start to doubt that one of them came out and did all this effort just to bust us with some pot. Say to Ted that we need to get out of there. Just the hear noise of a big thud right to the left of me just a few meters away. Get filled with pure terror. Both of us bolt down the hill towards our bikes at Mach speed. Can hear something running behind us. Oh shit, this is how I die. Get to our bikes and just throw ourselves on them. Bike down the path faster than I've ever biked before. Miracle we didn't fall off into the bushes. After the most intense bike ride in my life, we get down into the camp clearing again. Feel much safer being in an open area, so we stop at the football field to collect ourselves. When out of immediate danger, decide it might still have been some camp trying to fuck with us. Or some demon spawn wanting to eat us alive. Ted picks up a big stick in order to demonstrate what he's gonna do to that thing if it comes close to us again. Smashes it into the football goal post. Makes a loud ringing noise. Right after that the most horrible screaming starts. Like imagine a mountain lion scream. But it's coming from every direction. The entire forest is screaming like a symphony from hell. Fight or flight kicks in again. Both decide to run into the leader cabin to get some help. Bust into the door. Everyone's asleep. Wake everyone up. One of the camp leaders asks us WTF we're doing. Tell him that we snuck out in order to explore the woods at night but got attacked by some monster. It seems like he doesn't believe us at first, but then he sees how terrified we are. The screaming has stopped at this point, but that plus all the commotion we've caused has woken up the entire camp. The other camp attendants get up to see what's going on. Every one of them plus all the camp leaders were in the cabins during the whole ordeal. We went out there with a camp leader to investigate the next day but found nothing on the hill. The rest of the week went by pretty uneventfully with nothing spoopy happening, but we stayed the fuck away from the woods after dark. but on the final night of the camp one woke up in the middle of the night for no reason at 2 in the morning. As I was laying in bed trying to fall asleep again, I heard the same scream very faintly again. It's coming from deep in the woods, but it's still enough to terrify me. Screaming goes on for short intervals for almost an hour. But it sounds like it's getting closer to camp. I'm too terrified to move, so I just lay in bed staring at the window waiting for that thing to pop up. But it never came. Eventually the screaming stopped, but I still laid there staring at the window until morning.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.